Fame, power, dreams, whatever you desire lies at the top of the tower. Today we'll be diving into the huge and exciting world of Tower of God as we explore creative tests, earth-shaking plot twists, and mind-bending motivations, along with a colorful cast of characters that bounces off each other so well. There's also a mind-boggling twist down the line. So, keep watching, get invested, and find out the surprising and mind-blowing twist in this tale. So, without further ado, let's get into it. The story begins as we see a boy hopelessly chasing the girl he desperately needs in his life. Bam, the boy, finally catches Rachel, the girl, and asks her to stay. But Rachel claims that she wants to see the stars, hence she must climb the tower and disappear. Bam lets out a cry and unintentionally opens a huge door, leading him to the first floor of the tower. There he meets Head-On, who tells him that every answer he seeks lies at the top of the tower. Bam's desperation for Rachel forces him to agree to Head-On's terms, as he puts him to a test to see if he's worthy of climbing the tower. The test includes escaping a giant eel-like monster and breaking the ball in the middle of the chamber. Bam is on his way to jump straight into the chamber when he gets dropkicked by the hottest lady in town, Yuri Jahad. At first, Bam is unable to understand the words of Yuri and her navigator Evan, but then he receives a device called the Pocket from them. It's a multifunctional tool that serves as a translator for everyone inside the tower. Yuri tries to talk Bam out, giving such a dangerous test, and scolds Head-On for giving such a hard and unfair test to a powerless boy. But Head-On claims that an irregular, someone who opened the door themselves, should be able to pass this test with ease. He then flips it on Yuri by saying that she can give him the Black March, one of the strongest swords in the tower, if she wants to help him so much. Yuri agrees despite Evan's stern opposition and gives Bam the sword to help him pass the test. And so, Bam finally enters the testing chamber and immediately gets eaten by the eel. Yuri sees this and wants to help him, but Evan claims that he did the right thing, as the point of this test is to get over your fear of death. Bam then cuts the eel from the inside and gets out. He then recklessly goes for the ball and hits it. However, the ball is really sturdy and does not break. Bam keeps trying but is unable to find any success. In fact, the eel wakes up and is once again coming to eat him. But just at the last moment, Bam asks the Black March to help him and activates it. Out comes a goth mommy, who easily takes care of the eel and the ball. She then claims that she only came out to help because she finds Bam cute.
つまんない男ね。その可愛い顔に免じて力を貸そう。今回だけな。
As the test is now over, Bam and the Black March disappear and find themselves lying on a huge ground on the floor of tests. Yuri finds Bam really interesting and wants to see him immediately, and so she takes her leave alongside Evan to meet him on the floor of tests. On Bam's end, he hears an announcement that a new test will now begin. The test includes an all-out brawl among 400 contestants that will stop once the number is reduced to 200. We enter a flashback as we go back to Bam's time back in the cave outside the tower. Bam finds himself completely alone in the darkness of the cave, and just as he's about to lose all hope, Rachel finds him and puts a shining ray of light in his dark life. She kept taking care of him until he was comfortable with her and taught him lots of things about how to live. Back to the present, Bam is surprised at how quickly the contestant numbers are going down and starts to run for his life. He comes across Kun Aguero Agnes, who seems to be really strong and does not like the rules of this test. The two of them then come across Rack Wraithrazor, a hot-headed alligator who wants to hunt Bam because he has the Black March in his hand. Kun also gets interested in Bam and helps him get through the test with his wit and intellect. We also take a look at other strong participants spread out through the testing arena. The two boys try to reason with Rack, but he's dead set on hunting Bam. However, the test ends just before anything can happen to Bam. The administrator then gives a short time time limit to everyone and wants them to form teams of 3 in order to progress to the next floor. We see different contestants forming quick alliances, but Rak is unable to let go of his hunting habit and still wants to fight Bam. Kun realizes at the last second that the only way is to trick the Gator, and the two of them cling to him at the last second to pass the test. Around 120 people pass the test and board the mothership. They meet Leroro there, who's called a ranker, one of the people who have already climbed the tower once. Leroro is the test administrator and gives them all another test immediately, as he forces them to endure and phase through a set amount of Shinsu, which is basically the tower's oxygen and power system. Everyone except Bam is pushed out through the barrier and has to make their way in. Leroro is surprised that Bam wasn't pushed back and realizes that a monster has arrived. However, everyone else thinks it was his good luck, and so Bam automatically passes while the others start phasing through one by one. He then starts talking to Leroro and makes his acquaintance. Leroro explains the workings of the towers. The contestants are called regulars and have lived in the tower since they were born. Head-On chooses them based on their desires and abilities and gets them up to the floor of tests to climb the tower. Once they climb the tower, they become rankers. There's one more faction though. Some people come from outside the tower. They open the doors themselves and are referred to as irregulars. Coming back to the test, some regulars easily make the cut, while it's extremely hard or even downright impossible for others. Some people make a racket during the test and claim that it's unfair, but Leroro simply tells them to suck it up and deal with the hand they are dealt. The test concludes once Kun, Rak, and everybody else who can phase through succeeds, narrowing down the participants even more. As Leroro and Bam gotten somewhat close during the recent test, he warns him to beware of Kun, as he doesn't have a good reputation as a teammate, and takes the victors to another room for the next test. We once again go into flashback mode as we find out some of Kun's past. Turns out, he helped a woman named Maria in becoming a princess of Jahad, the tower's king, but this woman betrayed him later, and he became the laughingstock among everyone for not helping his sister and getting his own family exiled just to get betrayed by the woman he did help. Bam gets to talk a bit with his teammates this time as they wait for their turn and tells them about Rachel and her wish. Kun claims that the sky is just a legend in this world and the tower only imitates it by using Shinsu. They hear the screams of some teams from inside, while some don't make a single noise. As Kun is trying to figure out the details of the test, a contestant arrives and gives him a hint. Kun is really skeptical of the hint and keeps thinking about the test. Once the team arrives inside the testing area, they meet the test director, Han Sung-yu. The test includes opening one of the 13 doors before the time limit runs out. Kun racks his brain over and over again by overanalyzing the situation and not trusting the hint he was given outside. However, just as he's about to cost his teammates their lives, Rak simply goes and opens a door. Han Sung-yu explains that the test was to simply decide and move forward within half the time limit. There was no need to analyze the situation as every door was the correct door as long as they opened it within the time limit. Kun sees the fault in his thinking and realizes that his cynical nature may be due to Maria's betrayal earlier in his life. We see some of the other teams pass as well, hitting home the importance of trusting others every once in a while. Once this test is over,
皆さんにとても素敵なお知らせがあります。
素敵なお知らせ？
はい。ボーナステストに参加するチャンスが与えられました。
Little gives everyone a bonus test. The losers or non-participants will have no disadvantage in the long run, while the victor team will automatically pass all the tests. Everyone agrees to participate, and so the bonus test, the crown game, begins. The test includes a crown and a throne. Teams will fight over the crown, and whoever sits on the throne while donning the crown at the end of all 5 rounds wins the game. Kun decides to not participate in the first 2 rounds and observes the game from the outside. Anak, Shibisu, and Hats participate from the get-go and win the crown in the first game. But just as the second round begins, Bam feels that the Black March is reacting to something while we see a girl who looks like Rachel in one of the team's rooms. The beginning of the second round leads to a deduction from Kun and a sleepyhead named Laure. They deduce that participating too early would require them to win the crown and then rush through the entire barrage of teams that come after them. But participating too late will give the advantage to the one who holds the crown. So Laure decides to participate while Kun decides to go for the third round as he sees that Anak is a Jahad princess and holds one of the 13-month series swords, the Green April. Anak's sword senses the Black March that Bam is holding and she abandons the game to confront him after defeating Laure's team. She threatens Bam to hand it over, but after facing some resistance and realizing that she's breaking the rules of the test, she offers him a bet. If Bam's team wins the crown game, then she will give Bam the Green April, but if they lose, she will take the Black March. If Bam refuses the bet, she will simply kill him after the test is over and take the sword anyway.
嫌です。なんでそんな賭けをしなくちゃいけないんですか。
どうせこのゲームが終われば私はお前を殺して黒の3月を奪うつもりだからだ。
Having the reliable Kun and Rak by his side, Bam agrees to the bet and the team participates in the third round. Kun uses his cloning bag and some quick wits to absolutely toy with the other teams and wins the third round with ease. He then puts the crown on Bam's head and has him sit on the throne. Just then, the team with a girl who looks like Rachel is intently watching the game and prepares to enter soon. The fourth round begins now and the three teams enter. One of them suggests to team up against Bam's team and then decide the fate of the crown afterwards. But one of the three teams betrays them and takes care of everyone. Turns out Kun had been carrying 3 people in his bag since the first test. He had given them a free pass throughout all the tests up until now and had them return the favor in this crown game to rest up for the final bout. And so, the final round begins and the mysterious team enters the arena. Every other team starts attacking Bam and the others. The mysterious team helps them and repels their enemies. The girl who looks like Rachel tells Bam that he doesn't need to worry as they will not be taking the crown. Just as Bam is suspecting that the girl is Rachel, a masked warrior attacks her. In an effort to protect her, Bam gets hit on the head and gets seriously injured. The girl's hood falls off and turns out she really is Rachel. The masked warrior continues the assault and is about to kill Bam and Rachel when Bam suddenly conjures up a full-blown explosion of Shinsu. The Shinsu blows everyone away and melts the crown itself, and so the crown game ends with no victors and an injured Bam. Bam's injuries put him in a comatose state and he's out of action for some time. Leroro gives the regulars a break for 3 days so that they can recover and recuperate. Rachel pays Bam a visit and asks Kun for a favor. On the other end, Leroro also starts questioning Han Sung-yu's reasoning as to why there was a bonus round like this in the first place. The reason he presents is that Quant, the test administrator of another area, made a slip-up and allowed the first test to continue until just 3 people were left. That was Rachel's team. To cover up that blunder, they administered the bonus round. However, there's one more reason. Han Sung believes that some people may potentially be a threat to the tower, referring to Bam's recent display of power, and it's their job to filter them out. Rachel's favor from Kun is to hide her secret. She doesn't want Bam to know that she's alive, as she cannot sacrifice her dream for him. Kun is more than happy to do so, as he doesn't want Bam to go away either. 5 days have passed since the crown game, and Bam finally wakes up. Kun and the others greet him once he gets up. When asked about the tests, Kun tells him that he's really lucky. We get a flashback to 2 days ago when Leroro explains that the next test will be conducted once the regulars have learned about which position they are suited for. Fishermen, spear bearers, wave controllers, light bearers, and scouts are the 5 classes. They divide each of them and begin their training. When Kun asks about Bam, he replies that he would usually be disqualified, but the wave controller teacher is late, so he gets 2 extra days to get up and get into shape. And so, Bam has woken up just in time. Anak has already taken the Black March though, but it still refuses to be used by a woman.
なぜ怒る？男となら話すと言ったのに。かっこイケメンに限る。
Finally beginning his training, Bam finds out that wave controllers are the ones who control Shinsu and they must form a contract with the floor administrator before they are able to do so. As Bam makes the contract, he's told that it's only a shackle for him. But after successfully completing the contract, Bam gets extremely tired. One of his fellows, Ho, extends a hand of friendship to him, thinking that he's weak. It's later revealed that Ho was only putting up a front and was actually exhausted as well. And so, they all continue their training and form a pretty good bond overall by hanging out during lunch breaks. Bam also meets Endorsi Jahad, one of Rachel's teammates and another princess of Jahad. As both Anak and Endorsi are in fisherman class, they get put in a test together. Endorsi calls Anak an imposter and starts fighting her. As the two of them are fighting, Kun tries to do some research. There's no relevant information on Bam or Rachel, and when he searches for Anak Jahad, the information reveals her to be a ranker who's already dead. During the Endorsi versus Anak fight, it's revealed that the current Anak is the daughter of the real Anak Jahad. The real one broke the rules of the tower by having a child and was murdered by Jahad's men. That's why the current Anak is climbing the tower to avenge her mother. We get some lore drops as we find out that Jahad is the first man who overcame the challenges of the tower and climbed it, becoming the king of everything within the tower. He picks up numerous talented young girls from different families and grants them power. The exceptional ones from among them are granted a 13-month series sword. They are also given different sets of rules to abide by. They cannot fall in love or bear children because it's seen as a crime to pass down the power of the king. And Dorsey compares the princesses to a set of shoes displayed in a cabinet as proof of Jahad's glory, as Anak's existence is the very thing that denies Jahad's supposed delusion of absolute authority. Her family is hunted down and she is forced to flee while her mother is murdered by Jahad's rankers. And Dorsey and Anak understand each other's circumstances a bit during their fight and start developing a friendship. The fight ends when both of them fall down and get injured, and Dorsey tells Anak that her mother was nice to her when she first became a princess. The others continue their training as well. Bam is also steadily improving thanks to some help from Lore in controlling his Shinsu. Everything's going well for everyone. Well, not everyone, as Shibisu and Hats come to Bam and Kun asking for help. Their task was to make 10 friends by the end of the deadline. When they came before, Bam and Kun decided to help them, but they are still 2 people short. After getting them to beg, Kun gives them an idea. Turns out, Dorsey and Anak don't have enough points left to buy any food after spending their points on treatment. By bribing them both with food, Kun easily solves everyone's problem. As everyone is later eating together, Bam mentions Yuri, and Dorsey tells him that they are not biological sisters and that Yuri is said to be a wild princess for hitting people out of nowhere. And Dorsey also encounters Rachel alone and asks her if what she desires truly is more important than someone honest and handsome like Bam. Rachel doesn't give an answer and leaves the conversation frustrated by Dorsey's arrogance. But it's finally time for these mushy things to end, as the next test is finally here. The entire cast is divided into 2 groups for a game of tag. Each member will be put inside a dome and will have to choose someone who will be it. Either this it reaches the goal or they steal the it badge from Quant, one of the rankers who'll be the challenge they will have to overcome in this test. Rack and the big guy from Rachel's team sit this one out, as they have already passed the spear bearer's test during class by hitting a target that was extremely far away, and so, among the cheers of Rack's bragging, and Kun's worries about being in separate teams from Bam, the game of tag begins. Most of the useful members are a part of Team A. Kun becomes the de facto leader of the team as he presents them all with a strategy. His plan is to bait the ranker while Anak, the team's it, makes it to the end point. At first, it seems like a very simple strategy, but it's later revealed to be part of a much larger strategy when Quant finally gets past the series of traps and gets to the bridge. He does not find Anak there. Instead, he finds Kun, who's telling him that Anak saw him coming and jumped down the bridge. bridge, while in actuality, she's just standing up on Kun's lighthouse right under the bridge. As Quant Shinsu is limited for the test, he can't just go down there and come back, so he takes a gamble and pulls Kun down with him. But this was all part of Kun's plan, as he gets away from Quant midair and uses Anok's green April to safely land at the bottom as she gets on top of the bridge and starts making her way to the exit. Everything seems to have worked perfectly according to Kun's plan, but some things just aren't meant to be. Quant somehow makes his way up and steal Anok's badge, ending the game then and there. As Team A loses, Kun apologizes to everyone and contemplates his failure. But the twist is, this was also a part of his plan. Kun knew that he, Shibisu, Anak, and Laure were guaranteed to pass no matter what the result of the test. So, Kun himself used Quant's ego against him by helping him to get Anak so that he could make things easy for Bam and his team to pass. From the start, Kun has betraying Team A for his real friends, with whom he wants to climb the tower. As the test continues with Team B this time, and Dorsey volunteers to become it and the leader of the team, as she's by far the strongest of them all. She uses a weird strategy and takes the other fishermen alongside her as well as Bam, so that they can face the ranker head-on and hope to defeat him if he gets there. Some people have problems with this strategy, but seeing how even Kun's elaborate strategy failed, they go along and play their roles. Quant is pissed off from the last test and makes quick work of anyone who comes his way. On the other end, Ho asks Rachel to come outside her lighthouse as he knows about Bam and her. Turns out, he received an unknown letter with all this info before the test. We also find out Serena's backstory as she reveals that she used to be a burglar who lived her life by stealing things from different ships. However, one day, during one of their heists, all of her group gets killed. As she prays to God to save her from this kind of death, Head-On appears in front of her and permits her to climb the tower. Back in the present, and Dorsey turns on her team and decides to kill the other two fishermen, while Quant makes his way past the other members of Team B. And Dorsey knows that there are only a set number of fishermen who can pass the test. Since she messed up a bit earlier, she needs to kill the other two to make sure her qualification is confirmed. She tells Bam to go and help Rachel, as that's what he wants to do. And Dorsey tries to convince him that scheming like this is what he has to do in order to climb the tower. But Bam practically proves her wrong by protecting her against one of the other fishermen's attacks and telling her that he will not change his principles. Bam then runs to Rachel so that he can finally talk to her, but as he reaches her, he finds out that Ho is holding her hostage. Quant also arrives on the scene and gets even more pissed because it's exactly what Kun predicted. Kun had actually also predicted that Ho would do some shady stuff during his test and told Quant to keep an eye on him. Ho starts a rant about destiny and whatnot and tells Bam to stop Quant in his tracks if he wants to get Rachel back. When Bam tries to fight him, Quant stops him with a paralyzing attack made by Shinsu. He tells him to do this to Ho if he wants to save her, as Quant is about to make his way to the lift. Bam pulls off his paralysis attack immediately as Ho accidentally stabs Rachel. As Rachel apparently bleeds out, the giant guy from her team who's sitting comfortably with Rack vanishes into thin air. As Bam tries to help Rachel, she passes out but needs urgent attention. Ho gives up on everything and offs himself as he finally realizes he just sucks, just like the rest of his dead clan. And Dorsey arrives at the scene alongside Serena, who nobody really cares about honestly. And Dorsey is now holding the ignition weapon that the other fisherman used to attack her before and claims to have killed him. She challenges Quant for his badge and attacks him. Bam also stops using his own technique, and the other two of them almost get a breakthrough, but Quant figures out their attack patterns and takes Dorsey's badge once he gets the chance. And Dorsey helplessly puts her head on Quant's shoulders and takes his badge. She then reveals that Quant is actually holding her underwear while she's holding both the badges, thus winning the game for her side. As soon as the test ends, emergency help arrives for Rachel and she's taken away alongside Ho's dead body, marking the end of the test. Kun comes back to his room depressed. but Rak arrives at his door in miniature size. Turns out, he made fun of Han Sung-yu's size and got turned into a mini-gator for it. After making fun of him, Kun tells Rak that Bam probably won't be climbing the tower now that he has found Rachel, but Bam comes to the room and gives them both unexpected news. He wants to climb the tower now that Rachel is unable to walk. He wants to show her the stars by becoming her legs. Kun and Rak agree to help him as they have made an inseparable bond now. Bam and the others bid Ho farewell on his grave by having a toast for him and drinking their hearts out to cherish the friendship that they have made. On the other side, Han Sung-yu has a run-in with the wave controller teacher Yuga. It's revealed that the wave controller teacher is not actually Yuga, but one of Jahad's royal enforcers, Lopo Bia-ren. He's here to recover the Green April and remove the stain on the new Anak Jahad from the tower. Ren is prepared to fight Han Sung, but he unexpectedly allows it. Serena also leaves the testing area, knowing that there's no point in her staying here anymore as she has seen enough after Ho's death and her overall inability to get things done. She passes her knife onto Shibisu and bids him farewell. The next morning, the rankers announce the test results. They are all quite expected because Kunin and Dorsey made sure that nobody from their friend group fails. However, Rachel is disqualified as she is not in any state to continue. Kun gets up and objects to it. He asks Han Sung-yu to take the administrator's test as the test director will then have no authority to interfere. Han Sung then tells him that Jahad was able to take the administrator's test because he was an irregular who opened the doors himself. Regulars cannot negotiate with the administrator. Bam then hits him with a big revelation that he's an irregular.
僕は非選別者です。
非選別者
and gets permission to talk to the administrator. The others argue whether they should go along with Bam's whims, as the administrator's test will be much harder. Kun is also acting cold to provoke everyone to participate, but they have already decided that they will be participating, so there's no point in discussing it further. Bam gets permission from the administrator and Rachel is allowed to participate. The test details are here. Bam and Rachel will be placed in a Shinsu bubble underwater and they will need to get caught by the net dolphins and eaten by their queen to pass. The remaining participants must make sure that the net dolphins don't get eaten by their natural predators, the goblins with their mashed worms and the striped ground pigs. There's also the matter of the bull, which simply kills anything that moves. Once everything is set up, Kun takes command once again and divides everyone according to their strengths. Shibisu then encounters the bull and has to run away, but just as he's about to be eaten, Anak and Dorsey save him. The two of them then play around with the bull and make stupid bets on who will defeat it. The bull then runs away and the two princesses follow it. They get separated after that and encounter different opponents, and Dorsey encounters an amped up version of the bull and loses to it while Anak has to deal with Lopo Bia-ren. He completely overpowers Anak and stabs her through her guts to kill the imposter princess who's tarnishing the good name of Jahad. The bull then brings in Dorsey and it's revealed that Ren is an anima who can control all beasts. He's the one who has been controlling the bull, and in order to release Dorsey, he then tells her to kill Anak by giving her the Green April to gain some favor with Jahad. Meanwhile, Yuri finally makes her way to the floor of tests. On the other hand, Kun is planning a secret attack with one of the other regulars and is telling everyone to wait for his signal. Hats, Paracule, and Rak are getting impatient, but while the other two maintain their composure, Paracule uses his spear to make a scene by killing one of the goblins. This prompts the rest of them to attack as they are forced to run away for their lives. Rak and Paracule run away from the goblins at first, but Rak turns around and decides that it's not the time to chicken out. He comes back and decides to fight. The rest of the team members join and they all start taking care of the goblins. It's then revealed that Kun's plan was to use the underground tunnels to lure the striped pigs straight to the worms' mouths. He used Laura's Shinsu to block certain exits and led the pigs straight to the worms, and so the two predators now fight each other while Bam and Rachel are safely getting escorted to the queen's mouth by the net dolphins. On Anak's side, Dorsey decides to aid her instead of Ren, and the two princesses start fighting back, and Dorsey with the Black March and Anak with the Green April, but the two of them are still not powerful enough to defeat a ranker like Ren. But just then, Yuri arrives at the scene and eases their worries. She takes back the Black March, puts it in her inventory, and then basically tells Ren to go to hell as she herself will recover the Green April. She coaxes Ren into attacking her and then claims that everything past as this point is self-defense. She easily takes care of everything Ren throws at her and barely even uses her fingers to stop him in his tracks. He then decides to kill Ren and doesn't even bother to do it herself, as she orders one of her teammates to strike the final blow. Ren's dying words are that he has sent the bull to kill Bam now, because having an irregular like him alive is also breaking the rules of the tower. Yuri decides to help him, but she is warned that Bam will fail the test if she does so. And so, annoyed by the whole scenario, she trusts Bam to take care of himself, takes the green April away from Anak until she's strong enough to wield it, and leaves the floor. On Bam's side, he's feeling the Shinsu overflowing in him as the net dolphins complete their Shinsu net around them. He tells Rachel and the two of them have some wholesome moments, but just then, the bull arrives ready for action. Bam tries to stop it, but fails to do so. His friends believe that Bam can kill the bull and safely pass the test, but Bam is unable to do anything to the bull while simultaneously protecting Rachel. So he uses the strategy way back from his first test in the tower and jumps into the bull's mouth. He then blows it up from the inside and safely makes it back. The two of them are then set for passing the test. But just before the final moments, Rachel gets up from the chair and pushes Bam over the edge, resulting in one of the most brutal and shocking betrayals of all time. After the betrayal, we go back to the start and see everything from Rachel's perspective this time. When she arrives inside the tower, Head-On tells her that she's not the one who has been called up by the tower. Rachel struggles to grasp the reality that she sucks and asks Head-On to allow her to climb the tower out of desperation. Head-On gives her the same test as Bam, but she simply refuses to take it, completely denying the possibility of passing such a hard test. Head-On tells her that she does not want to see the stars. She wants to become a star, always loved and always surrounded by warmth and always the center of attention. He then sees that Rachel has zero talent for anything, as she's not even able to handle a minute amount of Shinsu. Head-On tells her to hide somewhere and see how the real person destined for greatness handles these things. She sees Bam's attempt at the test as he passes it with flying colors and comes out begging to climb the tower. Head-On allows her to do so by telling her she can do it if she kills Bam and takes his place. She then demands special weapon while claiming that Bam was also given one. Head-On gives her the big bodyguard and tells her that she gets one extra life. If she dies, she can be resurrected. We then see her journey through the tests as she gets jealous of Bam every single step of the way, seeing how a helpless boy like him has found such great friendships. She also contemplates the whole scenario sometimes because she doesn't have the spine to kill Bam. She also gets guided by the masked warrior who attacked the two of them during the crown game and steals her resolve. We jump to the point when she gets killed by Ho and uses her resurrection to let the bodyguard die in her place. She then uses her injuries as a way to get close to Bam so that she can kill him when the chance arrives. And so we arrive right at the end when she's alone with Bam in the bubble. She sees that while Bam is able to feel overwhelming power inside him by being near Shinsu, she simply can't feel anything. This puts the final nail in the coffin as she decides to betray him then and there. So she waits for Bam to get injured by the bull and then pushes him down, putting us all back to the point where we left it. When she arrives at the surface alone, everyone asks about Bam, but she passes out after saying that they were attacked by the bull. Everybody gets depressed and starts dealing with Bam's death in their own ways. Leroro tells them that they couldn't find Bam's body and he's pretty much confirmed dead. They all then decided that they owe it to Bam to carry his legacy and take Rachel to the top of the tower. Leroro reveals that everybody has passed and congratulates them all. Rachel comes back to her room and starts laughing maniacally at what she has achieved. She has completely taken Bam's place as the center of attention and has all his friends that he worked so hard to get. Once all the procedures are done, everybody is ready to be transported to the next level. Kun has his suspicions about what a bitch Rachel is, but still decides to go along with helping her. As they all bid farewell to the test directors, they're transported to the next floor. We then see Bam waking up at the bottom of a cavern, still alive and kicking. The masked warrior arrives and yaps about destiny, but Bam is not ready to hear anything about destiny as he is now determined to climb the tower and find his own answers.
塔の上に答えがあるもんか。答えは僕が見つける。
And so, the journey begins for everyone on their separate paths as they climb the tower to achieve what they want. An exciting Season 2 awaits us, and we hope that you are all prepared for our even more exciting coverage of Season 2. So, stay tuned and see you all in the next video. Peace!